Hey folks, it's Lindsey Huddleston with Sports Psychology Solutions back in the building over at Waverly High School for the Waverly Warriors versus Everett, a class of 2 championship programs. The Waverly Warriors will be recognizing the 2000 state championship team at halftime, but Everett's here to bust the party up if they can. But before we get to talking about that, we're really here to have a great discussion, great minds coming together with my guy DeAndre Carter. How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing great. Good to see you, bro.
Finally able to catch up. Finally able to catch up. He's traveling the country so much, man. You know, you don't know what state he's in and what he's doing. We've been talking a while about us getting together. We share the same kind of message, trying to empower individuals. And I'm glad that we have an understanding that when we talk, we kind of build each other. So we had this idea about how we can get together and say some things and really talk about some timely topics. We talk about life, talk about sports, but the pursuit of greatness. But let's talk about what you've been doing over the past few years with your work. And for those who may not be familiar with you, because our brands are kind of going through a cross section right now, let the people know who you are, what you're into, and what's going on with you.
Well, my name is DeAndre Carter. I'm the founder and CEO of Demand Greatness. I serve in the role of author, speaker, and life coach. So what I do is I empower people as well as organizations to find that next level and then execute the steps it takes to actually live it out. So when it comes to presentations, I do live keynotes, training workshops for corporate staffs and employee training or conferences in terms of keynotes. When it comes to coaching, I'm getting ready to launch my own program called Momentum 2020.
All right.
Where people can join the program and find out the 10 keys you need to take that next step. Really to unleash the power that you already have. Because I believe that people are already equipped for greatness, already equipped for success. But sometimes we're not using it correctly. So we're going to talk about that as well.
That's awesome. Doing some great things. Really inspired. As you and I both have been on our journey for helping people, I can just remember seeing your grind just as you may have watched me. And it's really fulfilling. I think when I saw you post something about an event that was going to be taking place, one of your keynote address, I think maybe Cincinnati or an event, it just really struck a chord with me. I think people probably saw like, oh, that's good, he's doing this thing. But I was like, no, he's doing his thing. So it's like when you see your work kind of come to fruition and cross over, what's that feeling like when you go from grinding with an idea and a dream and you start seeing things come into fruition? What's that experience like for you?
It's almost undescribable because when you grind and you start to see the fruits of success, the success changes on the outside, but the feeling on the inside of delivering the greatness is exactly the same. It's like when the football players, we just had the Chiefs and the 49ers. They always say that once the kickoff starts, it's another football game.
Just another football game.
The field is still 100 yards. The ball is still the same size. It's the hoopla around it that has changed, but the actual execution of the task is the same. And so for me, doing keynotes across the country, I'm doing the same thing that I've always done, electrifying audiences and giving them wisdom to take their lives to the next level. But what's different is their response because of the grind and what that is creating. And that's, creating that momentum and creating the brand where now people are like, well, because I'm doing a campaign right now, 20 states in 2020.
Yeah, I saw that.
I have 4 states. I have people now saying we want to get in the top 10.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we want to make sure we're one of the states that are the first 10 that you come to. So it's pretty exciting.
Well, that's awesome because what you've taken a goal that you've had, you're confident enough of that goal to put that goal out there, and now people are feeding into that. I mean, how is that?
This is what I just told somebody. We were talking about marketing and advertising, and what we were illustrating is that it's not enough to cast your vision. You got to cast your vision in a way where other people can see their role in your vision.
Wow. Other people can see their role in your vision.
And so it's one thing for me to say, I want to speak the country. And people think, oh, that's awesome. I want to do 20 states in 2020. Now they feel like I can be a part.
They can see where they can work in
I see where I can fit in.
I think the assumption we make as entrepreneurs or just whatever it may be is that we think because we're living and breathing something every day that people can actually see it and see where they fit in.
Absolutely.
As opposed to you saying, no, man, here's a great place
here's
for
a
you
spot.
to fit in.
Yes.
But what kind of confidence do you have to actually put your thought and vision out there for someone to potentially say, nah, DeAndre, I ain't feeling that and I think this is crap?
And I've heard that before. They're like, look, we ain't feeling that, brother. Matter of fact, I just did something recently. There were 20 agencies in the mid-Michigan area that come together like a coalition to talk about how to assist youth. And so these are, movers and shakers within the industry. And so one guy said as soon as he saw my name on the agenda and then it said motivational speaker, he said, oh, here we go again.
Really?
And so because he'd heard so many speakers that just spout off quotes, or as he said, talk about themselves for an hour, but never give you content to change your life. And so he thought, oh, here we go again. But by the end, he said, no, you're different. He's like, you've given me something where I can take it to my teams, I can take it to my employees, I can use it for myself. And I think what it is that when you actually believe what you're saying and you actually are living it out, it doesn't change the accuracy of your message, but it changes the potency of your message.
Right. You know, I say sometimes I feel that a lot of the ups and downs and challenges I have to go through so my message can be even more distinguishable and have an impact.
Rich.
Yeah, I mean, authentic. So when I say what I say, whether it's the Monday motivation or when you have your diamond time.
Yeah,
when you do that you're speaking to something that's your shared life experience. I think people can resonate with that.
Definitely.
You know, one thing that we were also talking about, and this won't be the last time that you and I sit and talk. We're going to do a number of series sitting down. This is just the first. But in my work in sports psychology consulting, we had a basketball game. I work closely with Waverly program over the years. I realized more and more that from the sports psychology standpoint, mental toughness, you also have to look at mental health. And that's
definitely
been a huge conversation. Just recently, I posted on my timeline this the NBA Athletes Tribune article from Ben Gordon, who was a popular basketball player.
Ben Gordon, UConn, right?
Yeah, UConn,
yep.
and
Pistons,
when
Chicago
he finished
Bulls.
up and wrapped up some things, he really was having some challenges towards a lot of part of his career. Like, what's going on with Ben? Well, come to find out, he was struggling with mental health in a major way. And what really got me is that the people who were responding on my timeline, DeAndre, it was just a different segment of people, which meant that this message resonates. So what I also want to get at, and this is to the people who are watching us, we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable with the mental health conversation.
We do.
We have to get more into a position that we can have these conversations, realize that everyone has a mental health story. And I'll go as far as to say this: everyone needs a mental health plan.
I agree.
In 2020, when you got this thing right here that pretty much puts the world in front of you on a regular basis, if you don't have a mental health plan to be able to fall back on things, or if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're working at a job and you're trying to achieve something that doesn't happen. I have a client who's an Olympic hopeful in the 2020 Olympics in track, and we talk all the time about those goals. When you are trying to achieve something, you got to have a plan in place because things don't work out. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's absolutely, going back to when you said a health plan, sometimes the biggest mistake we do is we wait for a crisis to create a plan. And so when it comes to health, let's say physical health, if you said everyone needs a physical health plan, no one would raise an eyebrow.
No one disagrees. You're right.
You know, this goes back to even before the words mental health were like a catchphrase or something that was common in the lexicon of our language in these days. But I grew up with a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges, and I come from the hometown of Detroit, and it's unsubstantiated by research, but I believe that there are tons of people, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of people that go through so much trauma in the inner city like Detroit, where it's normalized to a point where you don't have any issues because we all have issues. Yeah. And so I remember going through my first year, I'm a first generation college student. I read a post in the newspaper. It said that when you're physically sick, people bring flowers. When you're mentally sick, they throw rocks. And it's because they can't see.
Sure.
Like if your leg was broken, all of a sudden, like, hey, you need some help.
Yeah.
But when your mind is broken, or when your spirit is broken, or when you're emotionally damaged, people don't see it, and so it doesn't trigger that same empathy. But we all need a plan. We all need to manage our, and there's, self-care and different things like that, because this day and age is different than any other day and age we've lived in before, because of the access to information. You can be inundated and overwhelmed in seconds.
Sure. No, you're absolutely right. And I got to talk about it, both of us having that, those roots going back to Detroit. I think that we probably were close. You were like 6 Mile where you grew up?
7. Well, initially Joy Road. Got a good out shout out to Exit 9.
Joy Road and Southfield Freeway?
Yes, sir.
Murder Mac in the building, baby. Don't mess around.
So Joy Road and Evergreen, because I attended Cody High School. And then my 11th grade year, we moved to 7 Mile in Southfield.
Oh, man. We were at the same. We probably rode our bikes past each other. I was
absolutely
7 Mile Evergreen, Henry Ford High School, and it's amazing that we've had these life experiences. But you said something that was key: the normalization that comes,
desensitization as well.
And I think what happens is, I don't think people have problems when they're going through the normal part. It's when you get away from it and come back to it, and you realize it's not normal.
Major challenge, because now So being a first generation college student, that's a challenge, because then you come up here and you realize you're being educated. This is something that's been just hitting me for weeks. I read something that said the highest form of learning is unlearning.
Talk about that.
So you can learn something the wrong way. The highest form of learning is finding out the right way and then adjusting to the right way. So I'm going to give you a simple example, but it's hilarious to me. So I'm watching something on YouTube, and it says, did you know that Laurie's is called seasoning salt? That's what I always call seasoning salt. And he said, well, all of you are wrong. I said, you got to be kidding me. He said, it's never been called seasoning salt. I said, that's not what my grandmother told me.
Right.
My grandma said, hand me the seasoning salt.
Go get that Lowry's.
Get that Lowry's. And he said, if you look at the label, it's seasoned salt. Oh, wow. And I said, not mine.
Yeah.
I run to the cabinet, I grab it, and I look, and it's that moment where I'm looking and say, all my life, it's been seasoned salt. But because I've been programmed to call it seasoning salt, I don't see the truth. I see the programming that was already in my mind. Now that's simple. That's not,
do you know how much money you can win in the trivia contest with that right there?
Right. You get people on that one.
Right.
But that's simple. But what's not simple is when someone's been conditioned to think they're lesser than, conditioned to think they don't have value. Even when the truth shows up, we see people, oh, he's so talented. Why is he doing better? Because somebody told him it was seasoning salt. Yeah. Somebody told him he wasn't good enough. And he's bought into that. Even when the truth is presented, now you have to unlearn everything that you've been taught about yourself or about your surroundings. People from our family, people from our neighborhood, people from our city. We don't do this.
Right.
And like you said, when you go away and come back, now it's a challenge, because now people are saying, hey, you guys did it the wrong way. It's like, but I love these people.
Right.
This is what I know. This is what I support. And you have to begin to try to decipher between what they do and who they are, because it's not the same.
Excellent point, because when that moment came when you said that it did say seasoned salt,
I'm still shook by the way.
I know. Well, you could have looked at it and said something to the former effect. You could have said, this is not right. I don't want to accept this.
Right.
Because if you accept that, there's so many other things you got to accept.
That's
and
true.
I think that's what happens with us when we have to accept the reality. It's not so much the reality that we're looking at reading and saying seasoned. It's like, well, what about everything else? And I think sometimes we don't want to really admit that, and just also recognize that we have to be vulnerable, as it relates to something like that too.
That's right, folks. Lindsey Huddleston with SPS back in the building on southwest side Detroit.
How do you hit a free throw? How do you finish strong? That's important. But the other part of the spectrum is
always packed, always loud, always crazy. So it's a tough place to play in. You gotta go in there with a mindset.
So I'll be in there tomorrow. That's really my motivation. Is I want to be like Gabe Brown. Gabe Brown shoots like